Three adjectives for this video. First, unexpected, deep, Eastern. So, what's it going to be about? Hello everyone, I'm Blueberry and welcome to my guide to Slovakia. I'm from Slovakia, maybe obviously. You might ask, from where? Well, let's explore that. Many people are pretty unfamiliar with the region of Eastern Europe, even if they think they aren't. So, I think it would be a good idea to shed a light on one particular area of that region, Slovakia. Where is Slovakia located? Well, the simplest answer would be in Europe. That's pretty much universally accepted and true, unless of course you think Europe is a hoax and all of us are paid actors, which is unfortunately not true, because the cash would be very nice. If you ask abroad, most people will tell you we are in Eastern Europe, provided that of course they actually recognize the name. However, if you asked in Slovakia, or also some other surrounding countries, you might get the answer Central Europe. The discourse about whether Slovakia is in Eastern or Central Europe can get very nasty. Usually it's done on the internet though. However, I didn't really think it matters because, no matter which side you're on, or which side do you think Slovakia is on, Slovakia doesn't change its place on a map, nor in reality on Earth. We still are where we are. Instead of arguing whether Slovakia is in Central or Eastern Europe, it might be easier just to say which countries it borders on. Because, you might have an idea where those countries are. So, as of making this video in March 2022, the countries are Hungary in the south, Austria in the west, Czech Republic in northwest, Poland in the north, and Ukraine in the east. And we also hope that these borders won't change, or the countries won't change. Talking about internal geography, we have quite a few mountain ranges, with many of them having both ski slopes and very good system of hiking trails. So they are popular in both winter and summer. So tourism is especially big in the regions where these mountain ranges are. And the most famous mountain ranges with both skiing and hiking are High and Low Tatras. We also have many rivers, like a lot of them, and a lot of springs and overall good reserves of water. That's not a signal for invading us in the future when water will be scarce, so please don't do that. The most famous river we have is the Danube River, which even people from other countries have heard of, and it creates some part of the border between Hungary and us. Slovak area is divided into 8 regions. In Slovak we call them kraj in singular and kraje in plural. Each of these regions has its own sort of capital. We call it krajské mesto or regional city, and there are some of the governmental institutions that are in charge of the whole region. As with any other country, Slovak history is long, complicated, and occasionally extremely painful. Before Slavs came to the region of where Slovakia is now, plus a bit of the surrounding areas, there were Celtic and Germanic tribes, and also Romans, and also a lot of fighting. And I mean a lot of fighting. After the Slavs came, there was of course, a bit more fighting. Christianity came, and more fighting surrounding that as well. A bit more fighting, and then we became part of the Hungarian, well, back then not empire, it was a kingdom. So we became part of the Hungarian kingdom. Of course, with the Hungarian kingdom also there was more fighting, not quite within. We fought also within, but also with other people. Overall, history is full of fighting. I do not recommend making history because then you fight. In the end of 18th and beginning of 19th century, or first half of the 19th century, There was a bit more fighting, but it actually came from people who were Slovak. They wanted a bit more rights because, living in Hungarian Empire at that point, it wasn't very good about the whole rights thing. But the fighting was unsuccessful. However, around that time, it was only, less than 100 years until the First World War. Slovakia, as part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at that point, of course fought with it. However, they didn't really like it, and the First World War brought some attempts to become more independent, or, stop being part of that empire. And around the end of the war, with huge help from some other countries, Czechoslovakia became its own country, and the borders were defined a few years later. The whole thing, however, broke up shortly before the Second World War. Because, the whole Munich Agreement and Vienna thing, so yeah, it wasn't too good. And back then, Czech and Moravia got occupied by the Germans, and Slovakia was a satellite state. And Slovakia did really bad stuff, like very, very bad. Participating in the Holocaust, deporting its Jewish and Roma citizens to occupied Poland with concentration camps. So yeah, I guess you have a picture of how bad it was. Towards the end of the war, however, a lot of people became very sick of the whole Nazi thing, and they started an uprising. The uprising was not very successful. It was supposed to be coordinated with the advances of Red Army, but it didn't really work out that well. And after the war, Czechoslovakia was reunited again, and we became part of the Eastern Bloc. So essentially, we were Soviet Union's satellite and buffer state. So essentially, if anyone wanted to reach Soviet Union, they first had to go through us, which would have given them some time to prepare. After approximately 40 years of living under the oppressive regime, people became extremely sick of it. I mean, they were sick of it before, but after the 40 years, it all started to crumble. There was a Velvet Revolution, which is a revolution where people from Czech Republic and Slovakia back then, Czechoslovakia, essentially sent the Soviets back home. And after a bit of, political debates and stuff, they in the end became a democratic country. A few years later, Czechoslovakia became Czech Republic and Slovakia. So the country I'm from is, as of shooting this video, less than 30 years old. I hope I didn't give anyone a crisis about, oh fuck, I'm older than a country. Don't worry, there definitely are many countries which are younger than most of us. We of course had some political problems, but that's a bit too complicated. In 2004 we joined the EU and NATO, and since 2009 we use the euro currency, which means that if you happen to be traveling to Slovakia from some other countries in the EU, you don't necessarily have to exchange the currencies. If you are from a country like Czech Republic, Poland, or Hungary, you still have to exchange the currencies. Slovakia is a parliamentarian republic, and we are democratic. I'm not sure if I need to emphasize that or not, but yeah, just to be sure, we are democratic. So essentially, it means that every 4 years we vote for people to be part of the parliament. We have several political parties, not all of them of course get into parliament, and the ruling coalition is essentially an alliance of parties that don't disagree on everything. So it's a lot about compromise. A coalition needs to have more than half of the seats in the parliament so that they can actually pass the laws. And the parliament in Slovakia is called the Slovak National Council. We also have a president, and we vote for the president every 5 years, but the president has a ceremonial representative function. So the three main people in Slovakia are the president, which is Zuzana Čaputová, the prime minister, which is Eduard Heger, and the chairman of the National Council, which is Boris Kollár. In Slovakia, we speak the Slovak language. Maybe you've guessed it by its name, it's a Slavic language, specifically West Slavic. The two most closely related languages to it are Czech and Polish, and Czech is to a big degree mutually intelligible with Slovak. Like, you can make a Slovak child watch a film in Czech and they would understand pretty much everything. We use the Latin script in Slovak. It does have a bit more signs, like we use interpunction to change the pronunciation, but we still use the Latin script, not Cyrillics. Slovakia is mostly a Christian country, with the majority of people being Catholic. There is a growing minority of atheists, agnostics, and otherwise people with no religious affiliations. And there are also some Protestants, mostly Lutherans. In the east, there are also some Eastern Orthodox people. We don't really have a lot of people of non-Christian religions. There used to be a big Jewish minority, but the Second World War happened, and due to us not being very welcoming to immigrants and refugees from other countries, there also isn't a big Muslim minority. Majority of people in Slovakia have Slovak nationality. There are, of course, other nationalities/ethnicities that are significant. In the south, it's especially Hungarians, because, of the proximity with Hungary. There are also many Czech people. A lot of people from Slovakia have family in Czech Republic and vice versa. There is also a big Roma minority and some Ruthenian people. And also a big Vietnamese minority. So lastly, I'll just give you some facts that usually you say the first when you make a presentation in geography about a country. So the capital is Bratislava. We use the euro currency. There is approximately 5.5 million inhabitants and the surface is approximately 49,000 kilometers squared. So yeah, I hope you now have a better idea of what Slovakia is like. I hope I didn't scare you away. We definitely aren't as bad as we may sound, although some stuff are pretty bad. So I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching, and if you want to learn more about Slovakia without having to Google every single thing, you can tune in next time. Bye!